All right, guys. So I'm here with Basil, a student,
Yeah,
which is going through the program right now, and we are basically trying to see what he's been up to, what has he learned, what is his experience learning from me, and all that good stuff. So yeah, Basil, what's up, bro?
yeah. What's up, Christian? I'm doing very well. How about you?
Just over here being boring as usual. I know if anyone is like an
Yeah.
OG of the channel, they've seen you in September. September?
And then again, I think 2 months later, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we went live once, and then we had, I think, another call, but I don't remember the exact dates. Yeah.
Yeah, but like September.
I'm,
Like, yeah.
yeah.
So you are a student in my mentorship program. And basically, why did you started learning programming? What is your big ambition with programming? Or what got you into this? You could be doing anything else like TikTok drop shipping, MLM,
hmm
literally anything else. Like what got you into programming, or like why do you think programming is a good field to be in?
Personally, the reason is very simple. I just wanted to do something that I actually enjoy, and then it will bring me a lot of flexibility down the road, in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You could say money wise, but it's not just the money wise, the freedom, the ability to, work remotely and be able to have more time in the future to kind of like use this time to spend it in other activities, I would enjoy. So it was more about the flexibility, and it's something that I've tried before. So I did a bit of like C++ programming, and I've tried like bunch of things, and then I landed on the web development, and I was like, okay, this is actually really nice to build applications and stuff, and the demand is really high, and this is why I've yeah
You,
decided to pursue a career in web development in particular.
you felt like web dev is more flexible in terms of like you could actually get more out of this skill set?
Yeah, so the career progression, and I think it's one of the easiest software engineer roles to get into
Uh-huh.
compared to, like a full stack or a backend developer or DevOps or let's say an Android or
iOS.
iPhone developers. Yeah, iOS development. So, and it's aligned with what I was looking for. So, because I wasn't um, get into doing some of the complicated stuff with the backend initially. I wanted to do something more interesting, and it's visual, so I can have a look at it. And then
Mhm.
while I code, I can get some feedback, and then other friends, can use it, and it's fun.
Mhm.
And personally speaking, yeah, career-wise, of course, it gives you a lot of the compensation is great, the flexibility, and the road because you can start as a front end and then switch into a full stack back end, maybe even machine
Mobile.
learning or
You can do
whatever
mobile.
mobile or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
because
why I
it's
think,
all about the starting point.
yeah. That's why I think web dev is like the best because you can end up in any other field of programming if you want to. While if you learn,
Yeah.
I guess C++ or Java, I guess they are so specific to one type
Mm-hmm.
of platform. Of course, you can learn
Mm-hmm.
JavaScript after you learn Java, so it's not impossible, of course. But I think it's like if you
Mm-hmm.
learn JavaScript, you can get into those things like immediately if you want to. There's no learning curve. I mean, you just need
Yeah.
to learn the new platform and whatnot. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So then, um,
Yeah.
we first talked in September, and then you joined the program in December.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think 15th of December. Yeah.
okay. And what were you doing before you met me? Like, what kind of strategy were you following? What kind of courses were you going through? Like, what were you doing?
So I was mainly working on because I had some experience, working with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I was primarily focusing on React, and I was trying to come up with like one big project that I
Mhm.
could use to start applying for jobs, as a front-end developer.
Yeah.
and I did a couple of interviews, but let's say I wasn't successful at that time. And then I was like, okay, so there is a knowledge gap or things that I don't know, or maybe the complexity of my project is not as good as possible. So I need to change my plan because you
So
cannot do the
then,
same thing and then expect different results. Yeah, so
so
it's like a feedback loop. So yeah,
so then you actually tried to build a complex app based on the stuff that I was saying in the videos. But then
yes,
once you joined the program and you did the complex app that I'm suggesting,
yeah,
what was the
yeah.
difference between those things?
Oh man, it was just completely it's like it blew my mind because it's not about the thing that we did together during the program. They are super complicated. It's about the it's about too many parts well connected together to come up with something complicated enough. That's the main thing. This is what I was lacking because my project was okay. I was using, let's say, React router style component, React, implementing
Everything,
Redux.
everything
But
that I was
yeah,
showing you, right?
everyone was with us. Yeah, well, everything was you are asking us or telling us to kind of like implement.
Mm-hmm.
But then most of the features they were not well connected. The code wasn't up to standard, and the feature or let's say the feature they were not connected together. So there is no any point of actually using even implementing Redux because your feature they do not need the state. Each feature doesn't need the state from other components in order to kind of like understand why would we even use Redux.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why I got a lot of a low success rate, I could say, on interviews. Yeah.
Because you never, like, I think a lot of juniors, they see like a list of requirements, a list of technologies that they need to learn, and they go and
Hmm.
learn them, but they have no reason to learn them, so they never understand why they are needed in the first place.
Exactly. It's like they just try to put all of everything together into like one application without understanding why we actually need those things. It's easy to understand why we need a router, right? It's easy to understand style component, but then the complexity. And for example, I knew about Redux before I joined the program,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really understood why would we use Redux until we had, the portfolio, the the coin page project. So let's say the portfolio, right, where the data, in one page would be necessary in other page, and this is where Redux will help you to like store everything in one store globally, and then access the data throughout different, let's say, pages.
Yeah.
And it's just so many little things you cannot just grab by yourself. Yeah,
It's
it's kind of
yeah,
like impossible to be honest. Yeah, there's no way.
like the only way to actually understand how something works is by actually using it in when you need it. Um, but you are like not a special case, of course, because I have like multiple types of people, right?
Yeah,
I have like complete beginners. I have like people
yeah.
that are in the middle. Let's say they know a bit of
Mm-hmm.
JavaScript that they don't know exactly where to get, and then I have people like you, which are like close to the end, but there is something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the people that are in your situation, they think they are good.
Yeah,
Like for example, a bootcamp grad. They've done a 3-month
yeah.
intensive program and they think they are the shit. They just need a chance or something like that, or someone that has been building
Yeah.
projects for like 6-9 months and they think they're good. Like, what do you think those people don't understand? And by the way, feel free to not like praise me or anything, but you
And
can.
no, no, and I think just giving is some example, right? Because talking about Redux, for example, we, but it's very rare that people actually understand
Wait,
and something.
audio
Yeah.
is off. Audio, audio,
Okay.
it's off. Say something.
Okay. One second, 1 second. Hello?
Yeah, now it works.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Yeah, I think my headphone died. Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries, bro.
But yeah, as I was saying, is that it's like you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
So people assume that by building some mini projects like to do app, the weather app, that they understand the complexity of real world application, or they feel like they're ready enough because they've never experienced how it feels like to work on a bigger project.
Mhm.
And it's not their problem, it's not their fault, because you don't know what you don't know. And there's a difference between, as you said, exposure and experience. With exposure, like, okay, if I use TypeScript to do this, I would use Redux to do that. But then experience would get you the actual kind of like the experience to kind of like
Yeah.
work on stuff and be able to become productive on it, right?
Mhm.
And for example, I will give two examples. So I think the moment that I actually understood Redux, it was when I was converting the application from functional component to Redux,
Mhm.
and I was passing props all over, the application. And during the debugging time, it's not like a fun experience to have a bug and then you have to track, all the components and all the components that the props has passed through.
Mhm.
And once I implemented Redux, I was like, okay, so now we don't have to do that. And this is amazing because it's less work to do and less chances of getting bugs.
Yeah.
And it even make integrating or using TypeScript easier, because the more props you pass through components, the more TypeScript you have to write.
Yeah.
And in my head, I was thinking, if I build this application using, let's say, functional components, then I will have to write a lot of interfaces, types, and the development will take so long. And this is where, things start to make sense also. Oh, okay, this is why we use Redux, just to like avoid props drilling, as it's known for this name, right? And Redux help us with, having the data or most of the data in one store. And also, for example, the second example has to do with TypeScript. So I knew that, or someone else, before told me that TypeScript is very simple. It's actually just defining types, assigning types, and then you have generic types. So let's say, for example, if you have an event, then you have like a generic type for that.
Yeah.
But in reality,
Who told you that?
it's not. Huh?
Who told you that?
He was a friend of mine, is kind of like trying to start with, like, it's not a start, but he's doing a bit of work related to like web development.
Mhm.
And he was telling me it's not that complicated. It's just the three things. If you understand them, it will make sense. But then once you start, and this is why I call it exposure, right? Because you think, okay, this is why I have to do this, this is that. But then this is the experience you get with the program, that you start to implementing things, you start to understand them, and then you get the opportunity to ask questions, which is the most, I think, valuable thing about the whole program,
And
is the ability to ask questions.
you also like the way I do the program is like you write the app in one way, then you rewrite it in another way, and then you rewrite it in a third way with Redux, and then the fourth way with TypeScript. So what is that doing to your brain? Because a lot of people would build like 6 applications, but what is that doing to you? What is that doing to you by rewriting the app like 4 times?
Okay, so first of all, it's kind of like the repetition is really good, because you do the things multiple times, and then you get a different perspective of why using this technology it makes it easier compared to the previous one. So let's say whenever we have a class component based project, why is it better to use a functional component, right? And then you compare that with using Redux, and then with implementing TypeScript.
Yeah.
Oh. And hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Because I think
I can, yeah.
Yeah, it was lagging. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
So and building the project in 4 different ways, it just makes you kind of like understand why we actually use these methods, right? Without just using them because they're listed in a job description. Yeah.
And then you can have examples. I've done this and that, and now I understand why I actually need this, not just some shallow understanding.
Yes, it helps you to have or gain like a deeper understanding of why would we actually do something. Because if you've never worked in a big project, you will never understand the problem of props drilling and how painful it is to pass props throughout the whole application. And once you implement Redux and then you start to like remove all the props, it's a very satisfying feeling. It just makes everything way easier. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, bro. By the way,
Yeah.
you said classes, right? A lot of people are now learning classes in Udemy courses and on YouTube because classes are for all people. And it's kind
Yes.
of different, right? From every course. Like, why have you seen the benefit of learning classes before hooks, like functional components?
I think the main benefit has to do with the error handling. And this is something I've learned in the program. Because we have this, let's say, like a feature or a function which is called component did catch. And let's say in any application, the application consists of multiple props and multiple components, sorry. And what we can do is we wrap those components with a component component catch error. And whenever we have an error in one of the components, instead of the whole application crashing, then the only part that will crash were the part that has the error or introducing the error. And I think this is one of the main advantages. Yeah.
But it made you understand. It made you understand hooks better, like functional components. Just curious. You can tell your opinion, bro. Like, there's no need to. I'm just curious.
I think it just made me look at things from a different perspective, or like from different kind of like viewpoint. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I see them very similar. Yeah, like they're both very similar. Apart from working maybe with setting the state, so you have to do a little bit different work when it comes to a functional component.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
With the spreading and all that stuff.
Yeah, very great. Yeah.
And you are actually in my lowest version of the program. So there are two versions of the program, and like the only difference is like the support type. But what did you gain from the actual mentorship, not just from the program? Like, how was feedback? How did you feel about that? How it improved you, if it improved you in any way? Yeah, so if you can talk about that, that would be interesting to hear.
Okay, so I think the main thing that I've gained from this program, apart from actually learning how to code and doing things, is how to think as a developer and understand how developers think. Because when you don't have an experience, you always think that there is always a fixed way of doing things. And usually you don't know this way, right? So you feel you're confident. You don't feel confident enough, right, in your abilities. And also you think that other developers, they know everything and they just code, similar to what the tutorial you see in YouTube. And it kind of like, it gets to you. But then in reality, you start to understand, okay, developers actually, they don't have to know everything, but it's more about knowing stuff, which is the essential or the fundamentals, and then use them whenever they need, and then Google whatever you don't need whenever you need it, basically. So it's the learning. So I call it learning in case. So people try to learn everything in case if they need it, but in reality, you're always going to forget. So it's better to have this approach of learning the fundamentals. So this is what we did in the course. And then whenever there is something that I need to go and search, and then I will Google it, and then I will try to implement, let's say, the feature or complete the task. And it's like for me personally, it was like more of like a mindset shift. This program, it was more about like a mindset shift that helped me to like become more confident. My coding ability, of course, they've increased because I understood things. But I think the most important thing I've gained from this program is the mindset shift, is how developers think and how that's why a lot of people they're stuck in tutorial help, right? Because they're trying to learn and learn and learn and learn without actually building stuff. And the second thing with the mentoring and the weekly calls is that you kind of get this sense of kind of like security. So I'll try to do my best. And if I'm stuck or if I don't understand something clearly, then I can ask question and I can make sure that these answers are correct. So you don't have any kind of like uncertainty, you know, at the back. And yeah, this is what I would say the most valuable thing.
Because there is always like, you know, that river analogy.
Yeah, of course.
Find
Definitely.
where it starts and then follow the data, you know. That's like, that's what I do all the time, you know. And then whenever there is like a long debugging session and I cannot figure out the answer, is because I didn't start from the beginning, you know. And it's always the same, start from the beginning. So it's about knowing that, plus understanding how the library works, like how React works. So if you understand those two things, then you can figure out every bug or implement any feature. Like we had the URL stuff, and I told you like it's the same as the local storage, and it took you like a week. It clicked, right? And you're like, oh, okay, it's like that. And then it clicks, and then you find a new problem, and you're like, can I actually make it in that way? Because it's the same thing, it just looks different.
Yeah, it's like you have to, this program, it makes you think in the React way or in a problem solving way, right? So you have a problem and then you go and Google it, and then using the river analogy will help you to like debug stuff, right? Because you either modify the state either at the beginning or whenever, you know, at the last component where the props arrives. Yeah.
It's like you have a strategy to attack the thing rather than just going blindly at it.
Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say to someone that is like thinking about it?
Yeah.
You know, like how people are like, think about is this, because I'm like a guy from YouTube, right? Like, and to be honest, I've been, I don't want to say scammed before, because that's a very strong word, but I've been like misled. I've been misled, let's say. What would you say to someone that is worried about being misled by me, I guess? Or like, like.
Okay. Well, I
You know,
would
you
say it's
understand what I
actually
mean,
very
right?
simple. Yeah. It's very simple. So what I would say is, if you're serious about coding and you really want to invest time and effort, because Christian is not going to give you everything just laying down to you, right? Sometimes we're gonna give you hints, sometimes gonna help you. So it's really different, right? You have to put effort. But if you're serious about it, this might be or could be the best investment you will ever make, because gaining this experience, the knowledge, the code reviews, how to use Git and GitHub, and the rest of the advantages of this course, I cannot conclude them in this meeting. But I will definitely advise you to save time, because your time is very valuable, because it might take you like 2 years to do so, but who would like to do that, right? And not just time, the uncertainty itself, because whenever you are looking for, let's say, your job hunting, there's a lot of uncertainties. You keep thinking, is my project is good enough? Do I know what the market needs? And you just save yourself time and effort and a lot of mental health, and you achieve your goals with the minimum kind of like effort possible. That's why I would highly recommend this program.
And one thing that I want to add here is like, I don't know everything, bro. So like, if something changes, if something doesn't work, for example, for you or for another guy in the program, I will have to make the necessary adjustments for that specific person, you know? So I'm like extremely flexible in my approach because I just know that I don't know everything, you know, but I'm willing to find out. And because I've been a developer, I can understand if that solution might be the right solution, you know, because I can filter it out through my brain, I guess, you know, and yeah, cool. All right, man. That's pretty much it, man. If you have anything else to say, go for it. If not, we're gonna end it here.
Yeah. I would just have an advice for all the new and aspiring developers trying to get a jobs similar to where I was is save yourself, you know, a lot of pain, agony, and waste of time because there is a lot of things to learn, and the journey could be very difficult if you don't make the right choices. And when you don't know enough, then you will most likely make these choices. And yeah, join the program. And it's not because of I'm talking to Christian, but because I've tried it myself. So I was hesitant, you know, to join the program initially. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to your videos, and if there's anyone who's thinking about this, listen carefully. So I was listening to your videos, and I will grab all of the or what you said or the technologies and try to come up with something. But as much as you try, you're not gonna come up with what's in the program unless you're an actual developer, to be honest. So save yourself time, emotion health, and join the program. It's gonna be worth it. Trust me on that.
I'm actually trying to give on YouTube as much as I can, bro. But
yeah,
I'm always thinking like, what should I say? What should I project ideas? This, that. But it's like you cannot beat working with me, no matter how much advice I would give you, because there are so many missing steps, and you have one problem, bro, and some other guy, Nelson, has another problem, and then Hirion has another problem. Like everyone is doing the same thing, but they all approach it in like totally different ways, and
they have their own weaknesses, to work on.
Yeah, exactly, and everyone is different, you know. So yeah, it's impossible without working with me or with another developer, you know. So that's
it makes sense. As I mentioned before, you know, you gain a lot of knowledge and a lot of, let's say, practice, because you have to spend a lot of time coding yourself, and also the uncertainty, or the you will be certain that what you are doing is actually worth it and it will get you results, or the probability of doing what you have to do will increase your chances of actually getting a job. Because, you know, I personally believe that 70% of getting a job, it has to do with how you or 70% of it is actually, it's mentally. So it's more about your mental approach. Because before I was always thinking, you know, those developers that they got the jobs, that they just, whenever you tell them something, they would just start typing, and then they would just develop whatever you tell them, right? This is what we see on YouTube. And this is used to always give me like a hit my confidence. And in reality, it's not true. You know, most of these YouTubers, they do it 2 times, 3 times, and then they go on YouTube and then they make the tutorials. Or
they have a fucking go through screen.
Exactly. And then they explain and then they look. Or if you go through the documentation, 80% of YouTubers, they just explain what's in the documentation.
I've seen this myself, bro.
90% of readers tutorials, they just explain the counter. So what are you going to learn more than this? What are you going to learn about Redux more than the counter example? They're all doing the counter example.
And you've learned probably Redux from the docs. And you've learned TypeScript from the docs, because I have no videos on TypeScript, like 0 videos on TypeScript. I have a couple of videos on Redux, but they are like outdated. But you understood the concept, you went to the docs and you've learned it from there, which is a fucking skill that most people avoid because it's too difficult to sit down and read.
Exactly. And I will tell you something. This is what I've learned throughout the program, right? This is where the confident thing, play a big role in your confidence during the interviews, and knowing that everyone knows the fundamental. That's normal. But then on top of that, it's a problem solving skill. For example, when I started to convert the application into TypeScript, what most people would do, they will buy an Udemy course or watch a tutorial on YouTube, 6, 7 hours, TypeScript tutorial. They will watch it all along, waste their
From zero
time
to expert.
from zero to expert. And I remember my approach, even with Redux, I could say, it was very tactical, it was very simple. So I've watched this video, which is a crash course for like an hour and a half. Someone building, I think it was like an advanced to-do app with TypeScript. And I was just, writing down some very basic notes. So, okay, so you define types, this is okay, types interface, you do this, you do that. You have to define function, input to functions, and the return of a function. You have to define the component type. So I was just making a list of what you have to do and then trying to just grab the whole idea. And once I finished that tutorial, I've just started working on the project and then trying to do what you actually have done. And whenever I have bugs, and then I will Google it. And then, it's like a loop. And
Yeah.
I completed converting, let's say, half of the application without any tutorials, without any need of kind of like a stuck in tutorial. It's like the mindset shift of like how to learn stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
This
now,
was me previously. I will watch 5 tutorials because I think by me putting effort, right, and spending a lot of time on those tutorials, I will really understand TypeScript and I will be like a G on it. But it doesn't work like this.
yeah, bro. It's
It doesn't work.
it's like the same, bro. Like I've been only with coding I've been in this way, to be honest, because I've learned many skills in my life. I've learned
Yeah.
painting, drawing, sculpting, music. I've learned a bunch of skills, copywriting. All the skills that you will be learning outside of coding will be like direct practice. But for some reason, with coding,
Okay.
it doesn't work like that. I don't know why. It's like the barrier of entry till you are productive with coding is very, very big, and people are unsure, and that's why they end up in tutorial help. That's my opinion.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. That's why you should join the program and work hard as well. It's not like if you join the program, it's just everything is gonna be like easy and you will get a job. No, you will have to spend a lot of time, but it will be worth it. Yeah. With the
Imagine
mentorship and your effort.
Imagine like if you are right now in tutorial hell and if you think you are a G, like building
Don't,
apps and all
don't
that stuff.
remind me of this.
Imagine
Honestly,
like
don't
some people,
remind me.
but some people are spending like 20, 30, 40 hours a week. But imagine spending those 20, 30, 40 hours a week building shit instead of like
the
studying.
program. Yes. Because I remember, since I think halfway through the program, I've never touched a tutorial in my life. Never, ever. Like I didn't watch any tutorial to do anything. And this was like I was thinking, I was like, oh, I haven't watched a YouTube tutorial in like 3, 4 weeks, And I was like, oh, okay, that's actually very interesting. And then when I looked back, I was like, okay, because I'm learning a lot of stuff and I'm kind of like putting things together and working on my weaknesses. Specifically, when I joined the program, I had some of the weaknesses, I could say. So I was really strong at some aspect of JavaScript and weak in other aspects. And whenever I kind of like understood how React works and I worked on those weaknesses, it was just like flying colors. Like, yeah, everything got super easier.
Yeah, and wait, now actually after this call, I'm gonna onboard you to Slack to join the bigger project, because so far you only learned a little bit. Now the real G shit starts.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's gonna be pretty cool. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. If you want the same thing to happen to you, the link is in the description. Apply, we'll have a chat, and good luck. Peace.